Ann Arbor's Talk Station, 1290 WLBY and the Lucy Ann Lance Show. We take a look at design, its impact in our lives with Damian Farrell, local architect with Damian Farrell Design Group, each week here on the Lucy Ann Lance Show. Damian, great to have you back with us.
Oh, it's wonderful as always.
And on our line this morning, what a pleasure to have
Wow.
Amanda Dameron, who is editor-in-chief of Dwell magazine, where you have been for the last 6 years. You were also with Architectural Digest. And Amanda, great to have you join us.
Thanks for having me. I'm so
thank
excited.
Thank you so much. I have to read this Bree Dias from Huffington Post. Amanda Dameron is one of the most influential voices in the world of modern design. As editor-in-chief of Dwell, she brought freshness to a movement that often seems inaccessible to the average person by championing rising designers, architects like that, and other innovators that break tradition. This is our guest today. We are so honored. Thank you so much for spending the time to talk with us today.
Well, thank you so much.
And talk a little bit about bringing freshness to a movement that often seems inaccessible to the average person, because there are some people who don't embrace the modern outlook, and you endeavor to really showcase it in a much different way than many of us have thought about it in the past.
Well, that's true. I mean, Dwell has always been, since our inception in 2000, we've always sought to create a publication that shows real people in real homes. And so, you know, the trend in shelter publications like Architectural Digest has always been to capture this, you know, fantastical kind of residence that one could only dream of having. And very rarely do you see people in these homes. And if you do, it's a very stiffly, you know, posed portrait, you know, of people. So Dwell really took a different kind of direction with the way that we want to portray architecture and design, because we believe that, you know, the best design is design that accounts for, you know, how human beings interact with it and use it. And
Yeah,
so
exactly.
when we shoot a house, you know, we shoot the residents as well. And
Yes.
so, and we seek to really show them in relaxed kind of environments. But of course, you know, it's hard to manufacture a relaxed kind of scenario when, you know, these people have a professional photo team in their house. But you know, it's important for people to realize that the people we are featuring have made a decision to live in this way. They've made a decision to champion modern design and architecture. And they're just as much part of the story as their home that surrounds them.
Well, I think the concept is brilliant, because all of a sudden you can put yourself into it when you do see real people in there.
Yeah.
And you
Very true.
You start realizing how you can utilize a modern home as well. What constitutes modern homes today, or modernism?
Well, you know, what we always say is that modern is not a style, it's a philosophy. So,
Good point.
and we also believe that any home can be modern on the inside. So you don't need ground-up construction to have a modern home. It's really about, you know, choosing sustainable materials and methodologies to express, you know, how you want to live. And so that's you don't have to have an Eames lounge in order to have a modern house, is
Right.
what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
It's not about collecting objects or certain kinds of furnishings. It's really just about being mindful of solid construction and sound materials that are meant to last.
Yeah. You know, we've got to notice a trend. Obviously, we're in the Midwest. Almost by definition, we've been very conservative and traditional in design in the Midwest. But we've noticed with a lot of our clients who are now doing the whole downsizing thing, or are taking older, smaller, mid-century modern homes and redoing that, they are seeking a modern and contemporary aesthetic. And I think part of that is that it reflects a lack of clutter, which is part of the whole downsizing movement. There's a symbiosis there between those two concepts.
I think that's true. I think that we certainly all acquire stuff.
Yeah.
And we acquire too much of it, you know, and I think that an absence of clutter is certainly ideal. I mean, who wouldn't want to live in a home that's absent of, you know, the detritus of daily, you know, accumulation?
Yeah.
But, you know, I think, and, you know, going back to how we photograph a home, we always tell people, hey, listen, don't feel as though you need to shove all of your stuff in the cupboard, because we all have stuff.
Yeah.
Really, just make it look like you do in your normal life, and our normal life is messy sometimes.
Yeah.
Well, besides the objects you put in a home, from the furniture to the sustainable type of building, what do rooms in a modern home look different than maybe a traditional home, or what are they doing with rooms today?
I think that, openness is key. And, you want rooms that are that flow into one another, and rather than carved up, more formal rooms that, would be considered part of a more traditional home. With modern homes, you see that people really want to have an open living, dining, kitchen area. They don't want to be closed off in that way. And I think that signals a shift in, culturally speaking, in the way that people live in their homes. At one time, it was very common for people to have a formal dining room. That is not the case any longer. You
Right.
see people using offices in different ways. We work differently now. We don't. We all work on our laptops, and people, more often than not, people are working on their laptops, on their couch, in bed, as
Yeah.
opposed to sitting in a formal office arrangement.
Yeah.
And so modern homes really address that shift in the way that we use our homes.
I think a place that you've had, the magazine has had a profound impact, I see it in our practice, is the relationship between indoors and outdoors. And because you have showcased so much this ability to open spaces dramatically, not just, the traditional French doors or a pair of patio doors or sliding doors, but through things like sliding folding doors, and so much of what you feature is about indoor, outdoor. And people are, I think, adapting that and taking it even into cold climates like we have here in Michigan, not just in the warmer climates.
Well, absolutely. Indoor-outdoor living is part of the core tenets of modernism.
Right.
And so that's very true because, if you have outdoor space, it's a way to add, essential square footage to your home. And while it's true that it's easier to have outdoor rooms in a warm climate, everyone is interested, no matter what the climate in which their house exists. Everyone is interested in embracing the outdoors, I think.
We're talking with Amanda Dameron, and she is the editor-in-chief of Dwell magazine. To give everyone an idea of some of the topics you've covered, New Guard, 20 designers to watch, the great outdoors, bright interiors, prefab now, 8 modern renovations. Talk a little bit about putting together this magazine and what comes first. Is it the idea of where you want to go with this, or is it a home or a place that you've are profiling that leads into what the theme is going to be for that month?
Well, there are certain themes that have always been a part of Dwell's reach, and those are themes such as prefab, small spaces, renovation. These are all perennial topics that we return to on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Because we have really done our best to continue the conversation in these realms. And, we believe that the people that read Dwell are interested in these topics. I think that it doesn't matter who you are or what kind of house you have. You always want more space.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And people who read Dwell are interested in the possibility inherent in renovation. And there's an optimistic kind of hope there that my home can always be better. And so we always try to address that. So those are topics that continually appear on our pages.
Well, and how about the Sustainable Educational Center for the Boy Scouts of America, where they built this tree house in West Virginia that you profiled?
Yeah, that was exciting. And it's, we love being able to find incredible examples of modern design happening in all corners of the world. So that was a really fun one.
What are some other keys or key markers of a modern design, and what do you see happening in the future? Has it changed much since it debuted?
Do you mean has it changed much since Dwell debuted?
No,
or?
since the whole idea of a modern concept of a home. I mean,
as we were saying earlier, I think that the way that people are inhabiting their homes is constantly changing and shifting and morphing, and a lot of that has to do with technology and what technology is available to us. But still, going back to why modern was such a game changer, it really goes back to this connection to the outdoors, this wish for openness, this wish for a more restrained or less unnecessary ornamentation. I think that those wishes still exist. So, and I think that there's a common thread there. But of course, as time marches on, there are subtle shifts in the way that we inhabit our homes.
Are you seeing more? Are you seeing more prefab?
Well, absolutely. I mean, prefab is an issue, a special topic that we return to again and again, because there is something that is so palpable in the possibility of it that, we have always covered prefab, at our one of our former editors-in-chief, Allison Arieff, was very much at the forefront of touting prefab and really bringing it to the mass consumer attention. And so every time we cover prefab, we really just get so much interest from our readers. And so we really continually try to explore, new trajectories as it relates to prefab methodology.
Are you seeing any changes in the prefab world that are really notable?
Well, what I believe is that the more we can tout prefab as a concept and as an option, then more people will hopefully buy into the concept, because prefab is successful when you can get into the economy of scale. So obviously we want more and more people to embrace it so that it becomes cheaper and cheaper for more people. So, we have an annual design conference in Los Angeles every June.
Yes.
And, prefab and having prefab structures is an elemental part of the show. And so we have prefabs on the show floor, and I have to tell you that they're mobbed every time because people are fascinated by the concept.
Yeah.
And that fascination is what drives us to continually explore it.
And to make sure our listeners understand this, give an idea of what prefabrication actually is. I think many of us have a notion of what it is when it was used a lot in buildings and such, and they don't think of it as a design factor in homes, for instance.
Well, I mean, essentially it's manufactured parts that fit together and can be quickly erected on site. So it's really about, it's much more than a kit of parts. I don't want to give it, that sense. And prefab really does cover quite a large gamut of, construction methodologies. But, it's basically, like I said, manufactured parts that fit together in a very precise way to cut down on waste. And it's an opportunity for people who who are interested in sitting in a lighter way on the land, but who are also interested in, customization as well as part of it. So I think that the concept of prefab has been in our cultural consciousness for quite a while.
Yes, it has.
But I think that it continually is refined and new possibilities emerge all the time.
And I think Dwell, more than probably in a more powerful way than most publications, has really illustrated the variety and the options that are available in prefab, and really breaking the myths of some of those preconceived ideas about what prefab was. You guys have really shifted that in such a powerful way. It's really...
well, I think that...
Go ahead.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Well, that's nice of you to say. I think that what we try to do is show people that prefab doesn't necessarily look like any one style. It doesn't have to be any one style. Prefab is often much maligned for being boxy, or, people don't realize how amazing these structures can look. It's really amazing to see the prefab companies that have popped up in the last 10 years. And again, the gamut of projects that we feature, we hope, really exemplify that it can swing wildly.
Yeah.
Amanda Dameron, editor-in-chief of Dwell Magazine on 1290 WLBY, along with Damian Farrell and his Damian on Design each week on 1290 with the Lucy Ann Lance Show. Amanda, the fact that there are so many baby boomers out there and that whole changing of the guard, where many of them are giving up their big homes and they want to downsize, they want ranches, they want one floor. I think I'm speaking of myself here now. Does that mean that more of us might be embracing modern homes from what you had described of what a modern home is, it sounds very much like what many baby boomers are seeking today.
Absolutely. I think that, people want a simplified existence and lifestyle. They want less stuff. They don't want to have so much square footage. It's not necessary for the way they want to live. And so absolutely I see that modern figures into that need and desire.
Yeah. Can we talk a little bit about the Dwell on Design conference? This is such an extraordinary thing, and it's just tell us a little bit about the story of it, and because I know that it's grown dramatically, but I know our listeners would like to hear about it. And for some of us architects, it's unfortunately it's only 3 days away from the AIA National Convention, which is in Chicago, so it makes it
coming up on June 20th, the Dwell on Design
Dwell on
conference.
Design out in LA. And
Right.
it's a phenomenon. I don't know how else to describe it.
Well, thank you. I mean, it is a show that we have done for over 9 years, and it grows every single year exponentially. So we were excited to welcome over 30,000 people last June, and we expect more this year. So
Incredible.
it happens at the Convention Center in downtown Los Angeles, and it's 3 days of panel discussion, lectures, presentations, complemented by hundreds of exhibitors showing the latest products and services. And in addition to that, we also offer CEUs, or continuing education credits for architects and interior designers.
Yeah.
So, it's an interesting mix of people that come to really see the magazine come to life.
Yeah.
And so we see the same shift or the same mix that we see in our own readership. We see, half the people are accredited architects and designers, and the other half are just people that love design and are enthusiasts and are looking to be inspired.
That's what I think is so great about your magazine, is that it has bridged that from trade magazines or design magazines that the professionals mainly subscribe to. So many homes that I go into, I'll see the magazine lying on people's tables. We do a fair amount of residential, so we see this a great deal. That's extraordinary what you've done there. Is
Well,
reaching
that's great
to both.
to hear. I mean, I certainly can't take credit for it. There have been many creative people that have created Dwell. But, it was a magazine started by Lara Deem, who was really looking to create a publication that spoke to modern design, an important design, but to do so in an accessible way.
Yeah.
And so that's what we try to do every single day with everything that we do, whether it's the magazine or our digital entities or our live events like Dwell on Design. And going back to Dwell on Design as a show, we will be bringing Dwell on Design to New York in October. So
good.
That's very exciting for us.
That was one of my questions. Was is this going to reach around the world and around the country? And just as we wrap up, very briefly, just give us a sense of your reach internationally now. How is the magazine, and where is the magazine?
Well, it's interesting. I mean, our distribution channels don't run as deeply as we would like, but I have to tell you that I travel internationally a fair deal, and everyone, not everyone, but many, many people are saying to me, I wish I could find the magazine. I wish I could get it, Here. It's a little harder to find, but we do know that we have people accessing our content through dwell.com in every country in the world.
That's
so
incredible.
That tells us that our international reach is actually quite far, and so that's wonderful for us.
Well, and you feature homes. You feature homes from all around the world.
Yeah. I mean, this edition, current edition, is you've got Mumbai, from Mumbai to obviously stuff in the States, all the way to Norway and to the Scandinavian countries, and there's some projects in Holland, Amsterdam. Extraordinary reach.
Well, I pick up a lot of great advice because I'll give an example here. The clutter-free bedrooms that you featured, and there was a 700-foot square. That was it for a family of 4 living in a 700-foot square apartment in New York. And I love their solution for clothing. They use the floor. They made cutouts in the floor, and you put your sweaters and things under there.
Under the floor.
I thought that was brilliant.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, I mean, it's always wonderful to see people, using their minds to create transformable scenarios, both within interior architecture and with furnishings. It's amazing what can be done, and we're seeing such a trend of more and more people moving to dense urban environments, and people have less and less space, and so it's very important to us that when we talk about small space, we really do mean small space.